So as we all know by now, Dianne Feinstein is really not there mentally anymore. But it's worse than anybody realized, except her closest advisors, who now we have some news that's coming out from behind the scenes regarding them specifically. So this is in Rolling Stone. Feinstein's health crisis goes back farther than we know. Staff for the high-ranking Democrat have for years had a system to keep her from walking the halls of Congress alone, sources tell Rolling Stone. So we just learned the other day she mistook Tim Scott for Raphael Warnock, or vice versa. But she thought one black guy was the other black guy. They'll explain more in this piece here, but she doesn't know whether she's coming or going. You could have a conversation with her about something, and 2 minutes later she'll ask you about the same thing like the conversation didn't happen. She is going gonzo, man. She should be laying on a beach, sipping a mojito with friends and family around, because she's beyond sundowning, as you're going to learn here. Dianne Feinstein, 89 years old, returned to Congress this week, ending an almost 3-month medical absence that highlighted her advanced age and deteriorating health. But her decline and the problems it entails for American democracy date back farther and go deeper than has been publicly known. Multiple sources tell Rolling Stone that in recent years, Feinstein's office had an on-call system, unbeknownst to Feinstein herself, to prevent the senator from ever walking around the Capitol on her own. At any given moment, there was a staff member ready to jump up and stroll alongside the senator if she left her office, worried about what she'd say to reporters if left unsupervised. The system has been in place for years. Guys, this is the equivalent of taking grandma's keys to her car. Like, look, we love you. You know, you've always been there for us, but you can't really drive to the Denny's because you're on the wrong side of the road. That's what this is, man. That's what this is. Look, this happened one time with, one of my grandmas. She would drive to church on Sundays, and then it was raining one day, and she was literally driving on the wrong side of the road and going like 12 miles an hour, and a cop pulled her over and thankfully brought her back to her house. And, look, it's life. It happens. It's sad, but this is where she's at mentally. And we trust this woman to represent one of the most populous states in the country? Unbelievable. Quote, they will not let her leave by herself, but she doesn't even know it, says Jamarcus Purley, a former staffer. Senators juggle a heavy schedule of votes, hearings, and meetings on a wide range of subjects. Momentary lapses and mix-up about topics are far from unheard of. But over the last several years, interviews with Feinstein devolved into confusion on a near-daily basis. A familiar pattern would emerge. Feinstein would make an unexpected stance on a bill or policy position, only for her staff to quickly follow up by email to correct the record. It got to the point where reporters would pause before rushing to publish an otherwise newsworthy declaration because of the inevitability of staff reversing her statement. By the way, shame on the media there too, right? Because you can report it and then say the story is, I don't know if she's there mentally anymore, bro. But they don't. They protect her. And the staff protects her. They built this whole infrastructure around protecting her. This is one of the most powerful people in the country. Don't the voters deserve better? Shouldn't there be a system in place to sort of fix this? No confidence vote, something of that nature? Feinstein once notably seemed to forget she had relinquished her role as third in line to the presidency. As the longest-serving member of the Senate majority, she would traditionally serve as president pro tempore. Every time I read tempore, I think of that delicious Chinese food thing, like tempura chicken or whatever the hell. Behind only the vice president and speaker of the House in the line of succession. Feinstein announced last October via written statement she would voluntarily give up the title, but when asked about it 3 weeks later, she told a reporter she was still considering what to do. Jesus. The staffer quickly corrected the senator. It's a sad career coda for a groundbreaking lawmaker who has said she will retire when her term expires at the end of next year. Feinstein joined the Senate in 1992 as the first female senator from California. Blah, 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 blah. You guys know the gist of her career. She's no longer in charge of the Finance Committee? No, the Judiciary Committee. But she still sits on it. And her absence deprived Democrats of their majority on the Judiciary Committee, meaning they lacked the votes to advance Biden's judicial nominees. It also hampered the committee's functioning as the Supreme Court faces an ethics crisis over Justice Clarence Thomas accepting trips and personal favors from a Republican megadonor. All right, so let me explain this a little bit here, guys. They need her vote in order to keep getting Biden judges approved. Now, you guys know I'm no fan of Joe Biden. He's a neoliberal Democrat. He's a centrist through and through. But the fact of the matter is, any judge he picks is far and away on average, better than a Trump-picked judge or a Federalist Society judge. So they were cruising. They were getting a lot of judges approved. And then now they hit a brick wall. Why? Because Feinstein was absent. They couldn't do anything without her. And then the Republicans were grandstanding like, oh, we are protecting Senate tradition and we will not vote without her. We love our dear Senator Feinstein. It was all a power play because they wanted to keep blocking the judges. They know they'd be blocked if she wasn't there. And then this whole thing about Clarence Thomas, there's been 1,000 stories now about how deeply corrupt Clarence Thomas is and Neil Gorsuch is. We covered them on this show. The Supreme Court is comically corrupt. And now they can't launch an investigation or an inquiry because Feinstein wasn't there. And this was going on for what, months? So the Democrats had a majority, but functionally they didn't have a majority because they couldn't get anything done because of her absence. This is not acceptable. She should have stepped down a long, long time ago. This is just like the Ruth Bader Ginsburg situation, where everybody was like, yes, Queen, slay. And they were like, don't step down, Queen. And she didn't step down, and then she died under Trump, and then Trump got to pick a replacement and handing the Supreme Court over to conservatives for another generation. No, it's not about yourself. This isn't about any one person. This is about a system and a movement and ideas that are better than other ideas, and they stood in the way for personal vanity reasons. RBG did it, and now Dianne Feinstein is doing it. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer made the antiquated move of asking Republicans, led by Senator Mitch McConnell, to hand back control of the committee by letting Democrats appoint a temporary replacement to fill Feinstein's seat. Republicans said no. Republicans said no. Feinstein's office did not respond to a request for comment amid questions about her health last summer. Feinstein's office released a statement saying she had a hard time adjusting to the death of her husband, but remains heavily engaged in legislating, including fighting to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, blah, 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 blah. In April of last year, the San Francisco Chronicle reported that some of Feinstein's colleagues had begun to question her ability to fulfill the duties of her office, bringing new scrutiny to the senator. But as her health struggles played out in public, behind the scenes, staff tried to uphold the illusion of a normal, functional office while she displayed clear signs of cognitive decline. Ken Klippenstein got in trouble recently, the reporter for The Intercept. He got in trouble recently because he dared to tweet out the names and pictures of Feinstein staffers and said, pressure these people to feel some shame and step down. I 100% agree with Ken Klippenstein. If you want to call that cancel culture, that's an instance of cancel culture I can get behind. Because these people are holding up an illusion to protect a senator who cannot do her job because they're careerists and they care about where they will go personally. No, this is a fraud. This is a sham. This shouldn't even be legal. You should definitely be ashamed. You should definitely step down. And you should definitely apologize. You have a corpse. This is unironically Weekend at Bernie's in real life. And these people are gladly putting on the dog and pony show. Purely described office meetings where an issue would be discussed for several minutes, only for Feinstein to bring up the same topic later in the same meeting. Senior staff would then run through the whole conversation again as if they were saying it for the first time, to the discomfort of everyone in the room except for Feinstein. Another witness corroborated this account. She can't do it. She can't do her job. Purely is a rare former staffer willing to speak on the record about Feinstein's health. He had a dramatic falling out with her office and was fired last February for failing to perform his duties. I don't know if it's Purley or Purely, who is black, said he was frustrated with the office and grieving the death of his father from COVID and believes he was fired for saying on a staff call that Feinstein cares about her fucking dog more than black people. His accounts of the office are supported by other sources. One person who did not want to be named recounted Feinstein asking a staffer for a memo, then responding with bewilderment when the memo was turned in the next day. Oh my God. These issues are long-standing. Last summer, almost a year ago, one person who had worked with her and asked not to be named said her days are all bad days now. Feinstein's acuity gets worse as the day goes on, multiple people told Rolling Stone, and staff have long tried to avoid her having any engagements after mid-afternoon. So they say this about Biden too, but they say Biden, it's after about like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They don't want to have any events. This is after mid-afternoon. What, so at 12 o'clock you got to wrap it up? You only have 2 hours of being mentally with it in the day? Jesus. Purely said Feinstein's office began noticeably restructuring around her mental limitations in 2019. He said that year, formerly large staff meetings were cut down to only senior staff and people working on legislative issues. Junior staff were making jokes about her cognitive decline. Interns were noticing it. Oh my God. Wow. They go on to say here, Feinstein's declining health is not just a political problem for Democrats, it's a demonstration of how the advanced age of lawmakers can fray a representative democracy. California's nearly 40 million residents have been without full representation in the Senate, while Feinstein has been absent and on the Judiciary Committee. The popular will that gave Democrats a majority has instead been reduced to a stalemate. There you go. I mean, look, shouldn't be allowed. That simple. Step down, step down, step down. All the staffers should apologize, resign in shame. I mean, this is embarrassing stuff, man. This is like, and I'm not somebody who supports these, the rules. We need an upper limit. You can't hold office if you're above X age. I don't agree with that. There's some 90-year-olds who are still totally mentally with it, right? So I don't agree with that. But man, are you giving ammunition to the people who want to take action in that direction, because you're not fit for the job and you're refusing to let go of the power. And I can only ask why. Why? Do you love power that much? Do you love your title that much that you're willing to sacrifice doing a half-decent job on behalf of your people? I mean, look, let's keep it real. Even the people who are mentally with it and are young are not serving the people. But this is so brazen. It's such a slap in the face. It's such a spit in the eye that even mainstream media is recognizing it. So it doesn't get any more loathsome than this, man. We couldn't get anything done for months. Apparently, even potentially years, she was out of it. But we couldn't get anything done even with a Democratic majority, and this is yet another reason why. You could talk about Manchin, you could talk about Sinema, their intransigence, their obstruction, their corruption, their corporatism. That's all true. But it's also true we have people who are hanging on to life by a hair follicle length, and it's just business as usual. You want to talk about a swamp? DC truly is a swamp. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.